This week, we travel into a tome of theological terror with Rapture, the Second Coming.
Theological terror sounds like Sunday school.
Oh, dear God. So, we're not even going to bother to find a paragraph in this book to read.
No, you don't want me to read it. Being the light bearer, Lucifer saw fit to announce his arrival with the fire of 2 new suns that flashed into existence over 2 obscure cities in Japan. The last sight which thousands saw that week in August 1945 was the compassionate and smoldering eyes of the fallen one in the sky. Then their retinas melted, and their lives were forfeited, and nothing remained but the faint shadows of their souls etched into the concrete ruins of buildings and streets. A new age had dawned on planet Earth, for Earth had become in those days the throne of hell. Let's just
God.
Let's just take. Was it Fat Man and Little Boy? Were those the two?
Yeah, that's
the A-bombs.
Oh yeah.
Boy, that's a
Let's
cheerful...
just make them Lucifer. The devil made us do it.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with the fact that we as a species are always looking for new and exciting ways to hurt one another.
That was something.
Lucifer as the light bearer. I have never, in all my years of being a pretty staunch independent Baptist and growing up with a lot of really bizarre and kind of hateful people, have I ever heard anybody call the A-bombs, the
eyes of Lucifer or whatever.
The 2 new suns that flashed into existence over obscure cities
and burned their retinas.
Melted their retinas. Melted their retinas.
Yeah, I don't know.
If that's true, then America brought that on.
Yeah,
you do realize.
We are the bringers of the throne of hell.
Yay!
Yay!
America.
So, so this week we are diving deep into the world of unusual.
No, we're not. We're not diving into anything.
We're
floating up in the rapture. We're leaving. What was it? One of my Sunday school teachers told us all. He was like, just like that, bunch of blood and bones just gonna be laying around. Blood, bones, and clothes. That was what he used to tell us.
That's so pleasant.
I know. And I know his reasons for it, but I was like, wow, that's gruesome. He's like, everybody always wants to show the rapture just a bunch of empty clothes and empty seats on planes, and oh no, there's going to be blood and bones everywhere.
And us unbelievers crashing because
oh
there's no pilot.
Because there's,
But we deserve it. We deserve it because we don't believe.
And you will be given a lie.
Yeah. So welcome to this week. Like I said, we're definitely hitting the bargain bin of role-playing games that you never knew existed.
This is going to be an interesting show with my background and Sam's background.
Oh, yeah. Put that out on the table right now. I mean, you were raised independent Baptist.
I was raised independent Baptist. I am no longer, but I was, and pretty heavy into it for a number of years. And then I realized that didn't work.
And Sam,
we started Church of Christ non-denominational, which, as you have said, is the largest denomination. But we actually stopped going relatively early, and we were allowed to make our own way. And I just eventually became a secular humanist.
Yeah.
So,
and I started off in the fringe.
I don't know how fringy it was. I mean, you did have, was it Tillman?
Tilton, yeah.
Tilton.
I started off in the Pentecostal movement
there you go.
And the whole televangelist movement when I was very, 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 very young. And then we went into Methodism, and now I am who I am now.
And we are somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
we still consider ourselves Christians, but we are Christ followers. We choose to follow what he said instead of what people say.
Exactly.
It should be.
And so we this is definitely going to be one of those things where it could be uncomfortable, but the thing is we know each other, and at the same time this book is kind of cringy.
You and I, John, we've had many discussions over, and we actually do so calmly.
Yeah.
So too bad not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, and you as well.
Yeah.
And you as well, Roxanne.
So, this book is Rapture, the Second Coming by William Spencer Hale and was released by Quintessential Mercy Studios in 1995.
You didn't mention it was written by William Spencer Hale with Dave Newton and Michael J. Hill.
True.
Those men want their byline.
They want their byline.
They made sure they were in here. So, and it's Rapture trademarked.
Oh, wow. I did not know there was a trademark on Rapture. Now
Apparently
we know.
This one. Well, it's not ever in the Bible. It's just a phrase that that Christians have since. Let's think of something to.
There's a lot of things that they say that are not in the Bible.
It's a fun buzzword, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. But so. There were other authors involved, but William Spencer Hale is kind of the name that is most closely associated with this product, and definitely the biggest name out of the three. Because William Spencer Hale is one of the people who went on to, or started, I should say, writing with White Wolf and everything else, and there were the games, Vampire, the Masquerade, Oblivion, Wraith, the Oblivion. What are some of the other ones? Hunter,
Changeling,
the Reckoning,
Changeling, the Dreaming.
Yeah. And so now we enter
Mage
into
Descension.
Rapture, the second coming.
The second coming. Second coming. Yeah. And
I avoided it. I am very proud that I have avoided all innuendo during this discussion.
No, please. This is. Yeah.
We are PG-13, but it went by so fast. I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I love his dedication here. I know you have actual stuff to get into, but I'm looking at this art.
Let's have some fun.
Dedication to Rod Serling, creator of the Twilight Zone and Night Gallery. His creative genius, timeless style, and macabre, often satirical. Satiric. It doesn't have the AL. It's just satiric.
Interesting.
Views of reality have been an inspiration to many. His cinematic legacy is a science fiction and horror standard that will endure for decades. His vision transformed mere television into an art form.
And I spent half a page just saying that.
And to my mom and dad, thanks.
Oh, hey, yeah. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Oh, my gosh.
Thanks for supporting me when I was doing all this crazy stuff.
Now, the thing is, I actually met William Spencer Hale.
Now, is he a Christian, or did he just take the material and he was like, man, this is chock
where we
full
get
of
into
stuff.
Some of the weirder, stuff about White Wolf, especially in that era of White Wolf, is that religion was deeply tied to the theme of the White Wolf world. Vampires were the children of Cain.
Okay.
Armageddon.
So Judeo-Christian lore played very heavily into
it. And, there were all kinds of things. Like the Armageddon was essentially going to be the wiping out of all the supernatural creatures. And they actually went through that in one of the books called Judgment. It was an interesting time, but so the rumor, the staunch rumor is that was William Spencer Hale's, part in the series, was that he brought that element of religion in. And when it came time to put this book out, Rapture, he wanted to do this and bring in all these heavy theological things. And you get this feeling, especially with the title, with everything else in this book, that White Wolf looked at it and was just like, nah, this probably isn't the right book for us at this time. And we'll get to that.
To his credit, it does mention a lot. It's not just, it's Warriors of the Faith includes Catholic and Orthodox icons, Protestant icons, Jewish icons, Islamic icons, and pagan icons.
Yeah.
So, he includes...
He tried to throw a lot in there, but we'll definitely get to that. But this game, I did get to meet him. I want to definitely toss that out there.
Talk about your meeting.
Because he was
Spencer Hale.
He did a tour when that book released, and it was at AggieCon at Texas A&M University that he came through and was selling that book at tables. And it makes a lot of sense. A lot of people don't know that White Wolf's fan club, the Camarilla, for years was based out of Texas A&M University. In fact, their website for a long time was camarilla.tamu.edu. So they even had their web space for the club on the university's computers for years. So, I mean, there's that weird parallel and being there and getting to meet him.
That was the original?
That was, well, it wasn't the original, but it was where it was based for many years because the president of the Camarilla was also a professor there at Texas A&M.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he was a professor?
Yes.
I'll be darned. I thought he was just there.
Yeah, no,
Guy who didn't
you'd
leave.
think so. You'd think so, but no, he was a professor at Texas A&M for many years, and I don't think he's there anymore because it's a super conservative campus.
Yeah.
And amongst other things that really we don't need to get into on this show.
No, I used to live in Huntsville, which is about an hour.
About an hour away from there.
And that's where I got my start in the Camarilla. So I got to meet everybody.
So
That's where we met.
yeah, it is. So
our
pushing
friend
on.
David was in the cam.
Yeah, who's been on a couple of our other shows. So
Yep,
and he's going to
David
be on the
has appeared.
upcoming Ninja Crusade actual play. So 1995. So this is a fun year. We'll get around to some historical things that happened. So definitely in line with it, the Left Behind book came out. The famous
Came out
horrible
in 95?
95, the first Left Behind book.
Because, okay, then I did not, because I did read all but the last one.
Yeah.
I never, I feel like the last one released a lot later than the other ones or something, or people would buy them for me because they knew I'd read them. And it was right in line with growing up in the church I grew up and with the teachers that I had. When me and my friends at church hit teenager ages, 14, 15, about the time that all other kids and we too knew everything. We knew everything there was to know.
You don't know my pain.
Right. And we were experiencing things completely different than anybody else. But we got, and I think it happens to a lot of really conservative kids that are gung-ho in it. They're hook, line, and sinker. We've been raised in it. This is us. It went from, okay, we know all the nice, easy stuff. We want
The
hard.
meat.
We want
You
the
want
hard stuff. Yeah, I don't need this Casper milk toast nonsense. Give me the meat. And I know it sounds.
I went through the same thing.
It makes me cringe now because I'm like, God, we were so dumb. But we wanted to get into the prophecy and the hard, the stuff that this deals with, the rapture, end times, whatever you want to call it, the doomsday. What's going to, we wanted to sit and talk about that, and Left Behind just fed right into that. And I mean, they're not good at all.
Oh, no.
And the movies are even worse.
I'm done drinking Zima. I want whiskey.
That's right.
Pretty much.
That's exactly right. It's okay, I've drank milk. I need strong meat. There's actually a verse about it in somewhere. Paul said
That's
something about
LaHaye,
it.
Correct? LaHaye?
Tim LaHaye. And
Yes.
Tim LaHaye, I don't know if he actually wrote anything. He was the theology part. He was the pastor. Jerry Jenkins was the fiction writer. And I believe I read something else by Jerry Jenkins, and I was like, God. And later, much later, somebody had given me a book, and I was like, oh, look at this. And it was awful.
They're terrible. From a literary standpoint, they're terrible.
I don't understand. This is getting off the rail, but I don't understand why Christians cannot write stuff. What is that? Oh, it was a cat. I don't understand why, because I know plenty of talented people of faith that write and perform, and they're very good. I mean, it doesn't feel like God's Not Dead or whatever that movie series is I can't stand. It's why is this so awful? Why can we not do something a little better?
Yeah, what was that movie recently? It was a book series and then it turned into a movie series that has been another teen heartthrob kind of thing, and it was kind of in the same line as the Mockingjay, but it was about the different groups and the girl Insurgent and Divergent.
Yeah, and
and all
she
that.
was a Christian.
Yeah,
the author of that, and she didn't put it. I mean, I read the trilogy, and it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been, but it was young adult fiction. So Sam hates anything with the YA on it. Ugh. But I read in her biography about the author at the back that she claimed to be a born again Christian. I was like, she didn't mention it once.
Yeah.
What? And I was like, good for you, Veronica Veronica Mars was a TV show, but her name is Veronica something.
Yeah. Well, let's keep going on this.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Nah, it's a good, the whole Armageddon panic was a huge part of this game, as is a huge part of like Christian fiction. But anyway, we got the Oklahoma bombing happened that year.
In 95? I thought it happened in 94.
95 is what I looked up and found.
Yeah. This is when the 90s started to get really heavy.
Yeah.
I remember, because I was pretty young. I mean, I know you were out of high school, Sam, and then John graduated that year, right?
Yeah, that was the year I graduated high school.
See, I was in 95, I was getting out of the fifth grade into 6th grade. And I have like really good memories of everything like before that. And it's like after that, I feel like the 90s stopped being fun. I don't know. It's like I think of the stuff that I'm like, that's quintessential 90s and fun. And it is before 95. And it's like, yeah, it got weird because Christians started to get really into the Y2K, the world's going to end.
Doomsday prophecies with Y2K.
Because 2000 was getting closer and it got weird.
Every 5 to 10 years, they claim.
It hasn't been that bad since then. Because that one was
2012 was the other one. Because the Mayan calendar and that guy in California or whatever that all of his people sold all their stuff and liquidated their bank accounts and just blew all their money. And I think that was in 2012. It might have been 2012. It might have been a little later, but then he was like, okay, I guess I was wrong. It's going to happen this Friday. Oh, crap. We woke up on Saturday.
But so, other things. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty was that year. Yeah, that's a snoozer right there.
The Nuclear Proliferation Treaty?
Yeah, non-proliferation. That we're going to stop, that we're going to stop collecting all these nuclear weapons because, gosh darn it, we already have enough to blow up the Earth twice over.
You know that
3
nobody
times
did.
Over.
Nobody did.
No.
Nobody stopped.
Well, and they're already talking about revoking it at this point.
Of course.
Because we need more.
We need more. We need a new sun here
on
the Earth, just like we talked about at the beginning.
Lucifer is like, I've got to build a new sun.
Yeah.
I love that someone has drawn in the back here. Do you know what this is?
Yep, that is.
Did you draw that?
Yeah, that somebody I played the game, and I needed to describe to somebody
the Mark of the Beast.
The Mark of the Beast, and that
is not the Mark of the Beast, but that is that's in movies and stuff. Is this binary, the binary number of 6?
Yeah,
which came from numerology, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know where the Mark of the Beast number comes from, but yeah, the fact that it's always binary code, or it's a barcode now. Or it's the digital angel, the little chip that people get. Oh, it's the Mark of the Beast. Don't ever get that. And
I remember that crazy. I remember that insanity.
I'm diabetic. If I pass out and somebody wants to scan my arm and I have a chip in it to tell them what medications I'm on, I'm going to let them do it. I think it's horribly safe.
Mm-hmm. So, they shoehorn whatever it is into
technology is
blank
a dibble.
Is the Mark of the Beast.
Yeah.
Yep.
But last but not least, for events of this year, we have the O.J. Simpson trial and him being found not guilty.
Yeah.
See, I remember what time of year was that?
Oh, I don't remember because that thing was on TV for so long. I remember going to the barber shop and sitting there and watching the trial on TV.
I remember being in the carpool line getting dropped off at elementary school when that news came or people talking about it, and I didn't know what acquitted meant yet. And I was like, what does that mean? It means he's guilty, right? And Mom was like, no. It means that they let him off. And I was like, oh my God.
Well, he's now suffering his own particular hell, I suppose you could say.
I like that he got arrested for stealing his own his sports memorabilia back.
God, that's so terrible.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah, he ruined his life is ruined.
Nah, it was. But I just remember watching the white Bronco chase because it had ties. It had ties to Kansas City because Marcus Allen, whose white Bronco it was, played for the Chiefs for a number of years. Yeah. And so we were like, oh my God. The Bronco had probably never been in my state or anywhere near my city, but for some reason we were like, wow, this Kansas City sports icon is associated with this bizarre thing that's happening. Because I think Marcus Allen was in the car with him.
I
think it was him and OJ.
I don't remember. I think I was getting married that year. I think that's when I got married. I don't remember.
It's been a long time. It's been 23 years ago that this drivel came out.
But so all these crazy events. But so William Spencer Hale, like we said, worked for White Wolf from 92 to 96. So, I mean, even when this book came out, he was still working for them. And he wrote for the releases Vampire the Masquerade Player's Guide, Werewolf the Apocalypse Player's Guide, Werewolf the Apocalypse Storyteller book. So all these things. And, God, he puts out this book that has weird religious parallels in it that I don't know if looking at it, there are so many strange things. We'll get into the book itself, but the parallels between this and White Wolf's creative style is crazy. I mean, I'm wondering, did he actually ever intend for this to be in the same world as all that junk?
I've never read it, so I could not give you any information. I believe you have. I mean, obviously you have. I mean, did it seem like?
And that's the thing. So going down the list of stuff. So we can jump in at this point to the mechanics and the weird parts of this property. And that is, he contracted a lot of the same artists from White Wolf. You look through the book and the weird black and white, strange art style that I know Roxy just loves.
I can't stand this crap.
I
shouldn't call it crap. I am just not an art appreciator in all its forms. There's art that I like, things that catch my eye.
I knew there was a reason I didn't like you.
I know. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get more culture. I'm still reading my classic literature. Trying to expand my horizon.
There were a couple of art styles which I didn't particularly care for.
It's very good. It's just I don't know what it is about some black and white art that just
but it was done at that time. I mean, it's a perfect bound book, and the idea it was black and white. How much can you do?
Is that a tail? Does she have a tail?
Yeah.
And yet she's concerned about covering her nipples. I don't.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not. It's a ribbon.
Oh, okay.
It's a ribbon that's just perfectly covering her bareness, and then it trails down under her like it's a tail.
Because they're always modest.
But so it's a D20 system game building a dice pool, much like White Wolf.
Nope. Stigmata.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm
you're enjoying the book.
It talks about so much. I mean, it has this letter, then it talks about the death of... Is that an ice cream truck that's interrupting my podcast?
Yes, it was.
It just passed.
The death of faith, the Great Lodge, which actually sounds like a Cthulhu reference. Yeah, the Knights
Freemason.
Templar,
Yep.
Renaissance and Enlightenment, the Modern Age, the Great Sacrifice, the Summoning of the Light Bearer.
Yeah. And, so other things. So in all the White Wolf literature, there are the different, like in Vampire, there are the different clans. They're not just one group. In Werewolf, there are all the different packs or whatever they were, bloodlines.
Tribes. Weren't they
tribes?
called
Tribes, there you go. In Mage, they were all the different orders. In Rapture, there are all these different religious groups. Things such as the Knights of Malta, the Jewish League, all kinds of stuff, the Wiccans. Everybody got their own little section, and everybody got 3 powers, which again sounds a lot like White Wolf. And, every vampire got 3 powers. Every werewolf got 3 powers. Every mage, every mage was a whole other thing, but...
Holy crap. I've never read this ridiculousness.
Oh, yes. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Holy crap.
Oh.
The lore is bizarre.
It hurts your brain, doesn't it?
It just, I'm like,
and it's not,
where did this come from? See, this is the kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. Like, my mom hates the Scream movie, the original one, because she was like, this is just some sick pervert's fantasy fulfillment. It's just like, who was the crazy that thought this up, And we watched Scream when we were on the road at Gen Con, and it was on TV there. And it's so hokey and so cheesy now, but... I remember my mom feeling that way. Now, that was 96, so it's about the same time. But this, I want you to continue talking about the mechanics, and we can get into content later. But the things leading up to the birth of the Antichrist are pretty pretty brutal. it's I'm like, holy crap, man.
Yeah.
That's why how did you think this up?
Yeah.
I'm going to send a picture to my friend.
Nope, feel free. The this game, the storyteller is called the Oracle, and it is a setting about political upheaval in holy places, and where there's a difference between the faithful and the church. Like, the church is this nefarious overlord who has sided with the beast, and all these orders and all these groups are fighting the good fight in the background, which again sounds like Werewolf and some of the other White Wolf games out there. Werewolf is all about fighting you are the underdog soldiers who have,
no pun intended.
Yeah. Who fight the good fight from behind the scenes, and you really have no hope of doing anything because you don't have the same amount of power as the Worm or any of the other powers that are up against you. It's this exact same formula. And that's, one of those things that comes through in this game system. It has a 10-point morality system, even. Just like White Wolf.
This is White Wolf like every other White Wolf game at that time.
Yeah.
Because I played several of them, and they're all that's the framework. That's the architecture for every character.
Now, in White Wolf's other games, the morality focuses more on faith. It focuses more on, like, morals, like what you think is right or wrong. In this game system, the moral code is based on faith. And so how much faith you have and how much you put into your faith is what creates your moral code. Which, I guess kind of works, maybe?
Is it a pick your poison kind of
No, it's
morality?
Like overall. Like, everything else fits in this box. And that's, okay, so this is one of the things that, this is one of the things that got a lot of people. And this is one of the things that, obviously, today would this fit differently, I guess. I don't want to say we're more enlightened, but we definitely have a certain idea of what's more correct, especially in the gaming culture.
Mm-hmm.
But there are probably, I want to say, over a dozen classes or groups associated with Christianity. There are maybe one or two that are associated with Judaism. There is one, I think, sort of Allah that is associated with Islam. There are maybe one or two, the Druids and the Wiccans, as far as paganism goes. And so the game, even with Rapture, it lends itself this idea that the game is about the Christian apocalypse idea, but then it pulls in all
But
these...
everybody else is living in it and having to...
Yeah, but they all have powers and everything else. And so the way this game was presented was this idea that it was everybody's idea at the end of the world. Every religion out there had an idea that the world was going to end, and this writer was trying to merge it all.
It sounds like it's like every religion has its whatever story, its flood story, or its creation story, or its end time story, or its prophet, or its rabbi, or its savior, or whatever. Everybody has something.
Mm-hmm.
They have these.
But it felt
tropes.
A lot of people felt it was incomplete
all,
because it focused so heavily on the Christian ending. And it was like they pandered to a few small groups. Oh, here's something for you.
I can see that because the fact that they're bringing in like Lucifer, they're using the Judeo-Christian.
Yeah.
I don't even like the term Judeo-Christian because I know I've read some articles from actual Jews that are like it has nothing to do. it has so little to do. Christianity or what it's become has so little to do with anything that has to do with Judaism.
It's like Lewis Black. He was like, "You called your book new, and our book was old."
Well, and I've heard this before, but it happened to pop up on an Orange is the New Black episode the other day, and they were talking about fan fiction, and Black Cindy, who is working on converting to Judaism so she can get the kosher meals. She actually does convert, and it's actually a pretty
Honest conversion.
It's an honest conversion, but at first it was because she wanted good food.
Wow.
But she goes, they were talking about fan fiction. She goes, "Oh, you mean like the New Testament?" And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So I was like, woo, that's funny.
But so all the parallels, I mean, in this crazy game. Now, I think he, at the same time, because there's the whole human aspect and mortal aspect to it, he made this game super deadly. This game, there are you get shot with a bullet, and there's a whole table of all the horrible things that can happen to you from dying out from a gut shot to losing a limb.
Well, that fits with the theme, though, because in the Book of Revelation, when it actually deals with not necessarily the second coming, but when it deals with the period of the beast and the seals and the vials and everything that they talk about and the trumpets, depending on how it's interpreted, and I've heard it taught and interpreted a dozen different ways, but one of the ways is that every time it mentions a third of the population dies, because it'll say that's and a third of the population is gone. If you're expecting the global population to be reduced that drastically 3, maybe 4 times before that 7-year period is over, yeah, everybody's dying.
I had never thought of that from that perspective. So that makes a little sense.
That's not the way that I personally interpret that period, that part of the Bible, but that is a way that, and Left Behind, I think, teaches it that way. Is that these are consecutive events, and a lot of conservative. Well, I'm not going to say conservative. A lot of Bible teachers read it that way. This is a consecutive event. There are 7 seals, there are 7 trumpets, and there are 7 vial judgments. So you have these 21 judgments, and every one of them, a third of the population is wiped out. And so if it's consecutive, it's decimated. Yeah, 8 billion people is down to hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, it's kind of a.
So, if that's the view that he took, oh yeah, it's. They talk about, not in here. This is just Bible, guys, but blood in the streets up to the horse's bridle. It's gruesome.
Yeah. So at this point, we've talked about the mechanics.
I don't think that's that part. That's another part of Scripture.
It is, we're kind of touching on everything. It is a perfect bound book. Yeah. It is a black and white book. It is in the style
Yours is
of
torn
the
90s.
up.
If I'd have seen this, I'd have been like, man, you played this a lot. This is the worst. It's either that or you just didn't care.
I didn't care, and it traveled a lot.
It's traveled a lot. It's seen some wear.
It's like I said, it's perfect bound soft cover. This is why people don't like soft covers.
Yeah, because they just fall apart.
Yeah.
Look at that Ned Flanders right there on.
Which one is that?
I think he's a Jewish icon. Oh no, he's got a cross on his shirt.
With D&D kind of went through that. They every conceivable gaming company came out with these editions, and they were all soft cover.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And
it's so sad because some of the best books out there, like the old 2nd edition book Elves, is a wonderful book. And
I think I had some of those.
It's soft bound, and there's no way it's held up unless you were really awesome with your books after 30 years. And I know as a kid, I didn't care enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were those the brown covers?
Yes. With
I had almost all of them, and I kept good care of mine.
Yeah. Well, you were a good kid.
One of the few things I kept good.
I think this is Lou Reed with a bullet in his head over here. I don't know. It's just bizarre. Well, the art switches to this really bad photocopied Xerox photographs.
Yeah.
That's clearly Markiplier.
Oh, okay.
Markiplier 30 years ago, walking through a desert or something. I don't know, but it's just horribly
Xerox copies.
Copies, and here.
Back before the age of InDesign, and back before the age of Quark.
Somebody traced a picture. Oh, and she's got her little.
That's interesting. It's line and pointillism.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
It's just. But I loved. Where did it go? The Lutherites. Where did they go? The Lutherites.
Not the Carmelites.
Well, the Carmelites are in here too. I am a.
What about the Vanillaites?
I'm a caramelloite. I like a good caramello, but membership, men and women, preachers and laymen, purpose to establish the kingdom of God by gun and prayer. This is most of the South right now.
Exactly.
This is that speech that our beloved president gave us the other day about
violence.
Yeah.
Because they're persecuted.
I say beloved in the most tongue-in-cheek way.
This is so much.
It is. I mean, it's just, man. Look at that. That is a shirt from Affliction. I can tell. Yeah. That's the guy that plays Pennywise now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it's really not any of these people. I would never associate it. The Calvinites. Well, I know. See, they have completely taken.
Yeah.
They've taken things that are, and I love the difference in spelling. Because in the headline, it's Calvinites, Calvanites, but it's correctly spelled down here like John Calvin, which is Calvin.
I love your eye for detail. This is why you were.
Well,
this is why you did production. And
this is why I paused, because I was like, well, that's not spelled like a Calvinist would spell it. But their purpose is the destruction of the world government and to replace said government with a Christian one. I know a lot of non-Calvinists that are
exactly.
all about that. I mean,
well, why Calvinite? Is that an actual word? I would think Calvinist.
I don't think they can probably can't say that, because that's an actual sect.
Yeah.
So once, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, the evangelical fundamentalists. This is where these are the people I grew up with. Destruction of the Antichrist. Yep, that was us. We were just like, we're going to stop them no matter. I remember my dad. I think, and he's going to listen to this, and so he may be like, that's not what I said. But I'm pretty sure I remember a time where he was like listening to Chuck Colson or something, and they were talking about the end times, and they're like, well, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And, Chuck Colson wasn't necessarily a fundamentalist, but he was definitely, the religious right and the moral majority and stuff like that. He was right up there with Falwell, and they're sitting there talking talking about all the stuff that's going to happen. And then, like, in the next beat, it was, and this is what we got to do to stop it. And my dad Dad, I know you'll tell me, but I'm pretty sure he told me, he was like, if you're going, because they were doing it like the Bible says this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. He's like, if you believe that that's what's going to happen, you can't stop it. I mean, if this is what you believe, if you believe that everything that the Bible says is going to come to pass, you can't just turn around and go, and this is where we have to pick it, and this is the march we have to do, and this is the petitions we have to sign. We have to boycott Johnson & Johnson, and we have to do.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And for $39.95, you can get my book that describes everything on how to stop this.
And for an extra $15, we'll have Benny Hinn pray over this blanket over here, and we'll cut off an inch-by-inch square, and you can use your little prayer cloth.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, no.
I hope we're not turning off a whole lot of listeners, but this is nuts. I mean, the length that he did go to, because this is a lot of everything, which I guess it's mostly Protestant groups. I mean, there's the Franciscans.
Yeah.
And see, theirs are the same. Obedience, corporate and individual poverty, chastity, prayer and meditation, strict moral discipline, begging for material requirements, working with the poor, to meet discord and hatred with peace, to spread devotion to the Holy Mother of God. That sounds like it could very well be what the Franciscans are about, based on the little bit that I'm aware of Franciscan monks. Why did they get
a nice write-up?
And then suddenly Protestants are divided into these nut jobs. I mean, we're all not crazy.
We're not all crazy.
I just want to play board games and have rights.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
Well, it's just one of those things. And you bring up an important point. No, I hate that saying not all. But the thing is that you and I are Christians. And there's nothing wrong with Christianity, but we have created quite a bit of nut job, pseudoscience, weird stuff out there, and at the same time, pseudo-theological, which is what this is. Definitely. I mean, we're moving into a place where it's like, take spaghetti, mix it with yogurt, and throw it at the wall, and then see if it speaks to you.
Why are we mixing it with yogurt? That's disgusting.
Because that's pretty much how I feel about this.
But I mean, like, they have the Jewish Defense League. Theirs sounds accurate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, never again to prevent anti-Semitic groups from ever threatening the existence of Jewish people. I mean, there's now the Keepers of Solomon's Treasure.
I wonder if these write-ups were made from the author's perspective.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I mean, it is definitely from the author's perspective.
Oh, okay.
This is what was kind of wrong with gaming in that era, was that the research is personal. It is through the individual, and it's the idea that the way you see the world is the only way it is.
Mm.
And that is something that has plagued gaming for a long time. And now we're seeing books such as Seventh Seas. A lot of games are coming out now that are actually addressing that there are different ways of looking at the world. There's different ways of being, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I kind of like where we're seeing the industry go, and there are some people that are kind of backlashing on that a little bit, and I'm like, you know,
they do have
whatever.
Kabbalists as well for their pagan. The thing that I think is most frustrating about this book, besides the text and everything, besides the content, is the am I supposed to assume that this guy is a druid?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't look like a druid. He's got a leather jacket on.
I
don't know why I think
in the 90s druids.
See, I would think that druids
Eddie
would not
Vedder
wear
was a
leather.
druid.
I
The
figured they'd
super
be
pagans.
Yeah.
I remember those. Like, I'm pagan. Like, it was this badge of honor kind of thing. Everyone had to be a pagan.
And like, is this guy sort of Allah?
I think it's just supposed to be a general
I think it's just supposed to be
picture.
art, but that's frustrating. Like, what is this?
Is Zoroastrian in there?
No,
Zoroastrianism?
Zoroastrian. No, I didn't see him.
You'd think.
There's
Then
agnostics.
they've left it out.
There's agnostics. That's like, it's like religious, like Catholics, Protestants, Islam, Jews, pagans, agnostics. No atheists. Because I guess by this time,
You know shit's going down.
watch your mouth for PG-13.
Sorry.
But yeah,
Our first cuss word ever.
All atheists are like, he is real. We do know now.
I can't believe I was misled this entire time.
But
all the options are suck. This is...
And that's unfortunate, because I can easily see the people that take this seriously, religion in particular, may,
she's finding great cringeworthy arts.
Yeah.
She's Franciscan. This woman
Yeah,
here, I'll
yeah.
tell you right now.
Oh yeah,
Sister,
she wants to she wants to uplift the poor.
Is that Mother Superior?
That's mother dominatrix.
But no, I can see people engaging in rather offensive playing games, where they focus on their religion.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone else, because, I mean, that does happen. There are a lot of religions that our way is correct, everyone else is wrong. And that is, like, seriously bad.
Yeah.
And so this kind of thing, I mean, with Vampire, it wouldn't be that big a deal.
And I will say this. This is one of my things about human behavior. Everybody has the idea that my view is right, your view is wrong.
Right.
But the problem is where we say my view is good, your view is evil.
Yeah.
Right. And see, you can, and that's the thing that I think I started to realize later on in my religious growth, I guess. Once I hit my late teens, 20s, and went through some stuff and moved, and I was down here and not back in my hometown with my home church, which I will say I make a lot of jokes, and really we did do and say and believe some weird stuff, but they were always normal people, and then when I moved to the South, it got really weird, and people took on a whole new religion and church, and the kind of people that believed the stuff that I had been raised to believe were completely different than the people I was raised with. And so I kind of had like a little anomaly upbringing where we were actually decent people for the most part. There was some really crappy stuff that I regret, but down here it was like it went to a crazy place, and where, yeah, if you don't believe exactly what we state in our statement of faith, it's of the devil and it's evil. Yeah. And you need to get it out of your life. And if you don't get it out of your life, you're in poor standing with God, and he's going to take his hand of blessing off you. And I had never had a pastor or anybody dare say something like that, because everybody is human, and we all do different things. We make different mistakes. And for so many people down here, and not in Houston, but in where I was in Louisiana, so many people were like, no, we tell you what you need to believe. We tell you how you need to live. That lifestyle management stuff is too much for me. And to the point where it wasn't just lifestyle management for your, it's for your own good, because what you're doing is satanic.
We know better.
Yeah. Yeah, we are preserving your soul. And I'm like, if I just needed you to preserve my soul, I wouldn't be a Christian. Because I choose to believe in something else, not you. Yeah. But yeah, and that's, if we could just get to a place where we can disagree, and, okay, pray for me. That doesn't hurt me.
Or the reality, we just disagree.
We just disagree.
Yeah,
we don't have to hate each other.
Me and John.
Yeah.
We disagree, but we're still here. We haven't hit each other yet. No, so we got close.
We have some great conversations. We have a lot in common.
I don't think I've ever seen either of you physically even inclined to be.
Oh no, because I'm a pacifist anyway.
Yeah,
so.
and John is too.
Yep.
Okay.
But so we've gone down this rabbit hole.
Euronet and EdenNet.
We're going to have an episode.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do an episode about that. I think would be fun.
You and me?
About religion.
Yeah.
No, all of us, because, both of you have different views.
John and I we've come our upbringings are kind of parallel, but they are different. Yeah.
We've come to a similar location in the end, but we started off from totally different
vastly
angles.
Different places.
Yeah.
The geography of Armageddon.
Oh, yeah. But so, Rapture, getting back to this game.
Sorry, yeah. No, I'm still looking at the book. It's Andrew Dice Clay is saving this woman from
he is.
This helicopter, this Delta.
And don't forget the scorpion behind him.
The black helicopter.
That's a giant scorpion.
Is that supposed to be the giant scorpion? See, that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Was, where is the gory death at the hands of the bottomless pit beasts that fly out and supposedly give you boils and stuff? The Book of Revelation is pretty crazy.
It's an acid trip.
Yeah.
it's.
But no, I find it interesting. The black helicopter that features in a lot of paranoid.
A lot of
conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
Government, big government.
Yeah.
New World Order, which I believe is also thrown into a lot of religious.
Yeah.
The extreme religious groups.
Any kind of globalism, anything that seeks to unite the world's governments
has black helicopters.
Well, and then didn't L. Ron Hubbard? The huge scorpions with the faces of men and the bodies of, they made the sounds of hooves and the tails and whatever with the stingers. Mm-hmm. He was like clearly in the vision John saw, which that is a thing that a lot of Christians will say. It's like, okay, if we have the Apostle John looking at this future setting or whatever, he doesn't know what a helicopter is. He's just going to describe this thing using words that he knew. And that's a thing that everybody does. It's like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. This is what it kind of resembled in my few words. And so, but yeah, L. Ron Hubbard, that was his thing. They were all like Delta Force helicopters or something. And because they had the faces of men and they sounded like horses. And
it's like the prophecies of Nostradamus. They just shoehorn.
Well, yeah, it could be anything. The Omega Code and all that nonsense.
Yeah,
it could be anything. It's like, oh, well, because I was like, well, that's convenient that you figured it out, after 3,000 people died in 9/11, that you figured out it was prophesied to be on this date at this time in this place.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get sidetracked.
Yeah, no, but this is definitely a game to get sidetracked.
We're all passionate about.
Yeah, yes, we are.
But so Rapture, he put out this game, and I don't want to get too much into the details thereof, but the story and legends that you will find on the internet going about, and like RPGnet.com and reading up on different groups. So this game was hit by many struggles of small-time games, and that is promises of payouts to artists after the product comes out.
Oh, that's bad juju.
Oh, yeah.
That's
that
bad.
Would be awful.
That's bad.
Yeah, now these are the rumors.
Oh, okay.
These are the rumors. I definitely want to toss it out there. I've never seen my thing as a creator, and I'm going to toss this out there. This is a product. This was something that was put out. It has a UPC code. It has a barcode on it. If there is something that hinky that happened and you have a contract, go after them legally. If I can't find proof of it legally, I can't say it actually happened.
Yeah. Okay. So allegedly.
Allegedly, these are the problems that plague this game. Now, beyond that, though, this game ends up getting bought out and picked up by a portion of White Wolf. White Wolf, there is a small game company there was called Holistic Games. And this product got picked up and put out as a D20 book, which you'll see the D20 book on the center of the table there.
That one.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is the redo?
This is the redo. And it was
design.
thinner, smaller book. Again, still that
Soft
perfect
cover.
binding, soft cover. Similar design on the interior.
This must have been when D20 was the rage.
It was, and this was also one of those things that when you flood the market with the same game system, and everybody starts to wonder.
And this one has actual photographs as some of the art, and not horribly Xeroxed ones.
Which falls in line with some of the stuff White Wolf was putting out around that time.
This book does look cleaner, I will say. I mean, at least the art style is consistent. It's like they had one artist for most of it, and a photographer.
But there are less classes in that book.
See, this is the I'm sorry. I'm
going
to say that this just looks like a picture from the way that you describe the cam sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
This
Oh
looks
no!
this looks like a shot from a
there were
vampire
at
game.
least 3 people at the major convention. There were at least 3 people that looked like that.
Yeah. So see.
Afterward, they had less.
But but so you have this book that comes out for D20. It had less classes in it, less material in it.
It looks a lot better.
It does.
I will say it's laid out a lot. This one is not clean. This feels a lot. You can tell that this was picked up by a company that was putting out game books.
Yes.
Whereas this feels like, we'll publish your bizarre RPG based on religious concepts that we agree with.
Yeah.
Quintessential Mercy.
Yeah, once again, when D20 came out, all those expansions, all these independent little companies came up, and a lot of their designs, the book design, was terrible. And that's what the first book kind of reminds me of.
Yeah. Now, in order to, kind of follow suit with D20, as we've mentioned with supplements, they even put out a supplement book for
that's
it.
a better way of phrasing
Yeah.
it.
That the Fist of God brought out new classes, which if you have the original book were old classes. Some of the same classes that were in the original Rapture book, they left out for the second edition and put it out in supplements.
Okay. Knights of Malta, the Shadow Corps.
Yeah.
Dominicans. Yeah, the Dominicans are in here.
And so are the Knights of Malta.
The Soulless Shootists.
Yeah. Welcome to D20. And we had to find a way to get guns in there.
Well, I mean, there were already guns.
Oh, yeah.
There were already guns in here.
But this is like, we're going from what is essentially a White Wolf style book to a D20 style book.
I would have said this. Mm-hmm. I would have thought it came out a lot earlier than 95.
Yeah.
This looks like religious art that I remember seeing in old books from like the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Like
totally.
Late Jesus freak kind of stuff where, well, I mean, they called themselves that too.
Yeah.
But, the weird like Jesus hippie movement, this looks like stuff out of that.
Yeah.
Whereas this looks like stuff in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Sorry.
And it hits those marks. But so Holistic Designs was a sub-company of White Wolf. And obviously this is near the end of the original White Wolf with the D20 licensing. Mm-hmm. And as we talked about on the show several times, what always happens, what happens to a company when it involves itself too heavily in D20? And that is it busts. D20, crashed and burned as the license went some of us, I mean, for a moment there, like after like 3.5, a lot of the sub companies that were around at that time, we started, especially when 3.5, like when they revoked the Open Gaming License, the OGL, and moved on to 4th edition, there were so many companies that we were this like, dang, they're not going. What are they going to put out now?
Yeah.
Mongoose Publishing, AEG.
Oh yeah, AEG. I remember them.
Yeah,
They're
all these.
still
No, they're
around.
still around, but then AEG was smart and made its way.
They diversified.
They diversified.
Oh,
they
they
went
do
into
big-
They went into board games.
Yeah, they're into
Ah.
card games especially. board games.
Mongoose put through its weight behind Traveler. There are these ways that some of these companies survive. But for a while there, we were just like, holy cow! There's what's going to happen to all these groups, all these books, all these things, and so many things are gone. So many
Yeah.
companies are gone. So many writers.
That's unfortunate.
But so we hit this point where White Wolf fell into economic hardship, and it began to parse out and sell the properties it had off to various entities. Now, the vast majority of them ended up with, and we've talked about this, CCP. CCP was going to put out a vampire MMO. They had licensed it, they had put the artwork into it, and they had actually begun the work on this. Because at that time, everybody was like, we need to find that thing that's going to compete with World of Warcraft, because there's obviously money in the MMO market.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, okay, so let's come up with it. And we, Vampire the Masquerade, the computer game, was actually a success.
Yeah, it was actually very popular.
And
apparently.
the Hunter the Reckoning video games were successful. So there was this idea, let's do this. But technology was moving along, didn't do well. Now, unlike all the other books that got sold off from White Wolf to CCP, Holistic Designs instead went very quietly to FASA.
FASA. I remember them. Mech Warrior.
Yes,
That's where I started.
Mech Warrior.
Encountered them.
I mean, we just
They
talked
also
about
did Cyberpunk
They did a lot of stuff.
and Star Wars.
Mhm.
They did the first one for Star
Didn't
Wars,
they
I believe.
do Star Trek too?
It's
I
hard to
don't
say.
remember.
So many things they did because
We talked about FASA one other time when we talked about
FASA was a huge tabletop entity, and for a while there, if it wasn't TSR, FASA was like the company that was probably putting it out, at least here in the U.S. Fredonian Aeronautical Space Agency. So
Actually, Cyberpunk. I'm sorry, Cyberpunk. The first one was not FASA. It was some company I don't remember the name of. I'll have to look it up.
but the
Sorry,
thing is,
I totally interrupted.
no.
No. I was thinking we see something is the Fredonian. There's like a bank or something.
Yeah, there's the Bank of Fredonia. There was the name of the nation. We've talked about this in the show
we looked
before.
at when we did. I think it was BattleTech.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is so quietly this property went off to FASA, and FASA has had its own interesting restructures and history, and we'll probably talk about it. We'll probably talk about a modern FASA property so we can talk about what all craziness has happened with them as they've rebranded and grown throughout the years. But yeah, it is disappeared. The original version of Rapture that you have there, you can no longer find, but you can find the D20 versions on DriveThruRPG.
DGRPG.
Art Talsorian came up with Cyberpunk.
Okay.
Up with the Cyberpunk.
And of course, there's the video game coming out of Cyberpunk here very soon, which is raising scandal, and God knows, welcome to the late 2010s where everything gets scandal. But anyway, this is the wonderful history that was Rapture, and kind of a weird, morose note to end on when a game just dies and goes away. And especially one of this topic, because, what?
No, I am just reading things, and I'm like, where did they get that?
Yeah.
I mean, like they have a huge name for essentially
The devil, or
Lucifer.
whatever.
Yeah, Shaitan, Samael, Lucifer, Iblis, former seraphim, ruler of hell, and I'm like, I can't think of one Bible reference to Lucifer where he is called a seraph. He's called a cherub. which is not the same biblically. And so it's one of those things where when I prided myself as a kid on like knowing things and being smarter than people in Bible, I'm not going to ever say that I'm smarter than anybody in any kind of secular knowledge, but when I was a kid, I could talk Bible pretty good. And angels were never women. Mm-hmm. They never had wings. And so, like, we'd see them, had to make a snarky, I know better than you. That artists suck. Angels never look like that. Angels were always men. But I'm like, what? But it could come from anywhere. I mean, that name, obviously, they've either created this name or they've pulled this from it feels like an episode of Supernatural where they pull out, like, all these tomes and they refer to all these rituals and things. And I'm like, where do you find that in the library? Where do you go to the library to find the book with all the, like, ritualistic pictures? And you're like, oh, wow, look at all, Where do you find that?
The occult section.
Yeah. But even the occult section is what? Sylvia Brown and John Edwards and mediums. That's what the occult section is.
I don't know. I would think that's paranormal.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I'm thinking at like bookstores now.
I'm sure occult would be more the pagan way, kind of the pagan diet.
Yeah,
I think it'd be just pagan stuff.
It is. It's the Wiccan diet.
The Wiccan
diet. So, closing thoughts, everybody. Closing thoughts. Sam, you got any closing thoughts on this property?
Do you want to play this?
Would you ever want to play this?
God, no. No pun intended. I think, actually, it kind of really encapsulates the, I won't say majority, but what a lot of people perceive religion to be as this thing where each group has its own, particular things about it. And all of them claim to know what it is. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, though, there's a mindset that every religion is right. It's just a different way of getting to the afterlife.
We're all on the same. We're all headed to the same place. We're just taking different roads to get there. That was what my grandmother used to say.
But it's just the Rapture. Also, I mean, kind of summed up. The Rapture in general is kind of, when I hear people talk about it, it's like they get about it.
Because, well, go.
And there was this thing I saw where this person was talking about this woman died in a fire, but her Bible survived. God is great. And someone said, someone died.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to point out someone died.
And, they seemed, a lot of extremists.
Gloss over that.
A lot of extremists. Point this out, and I like I said, I've never read the book, so I don't know if they do that. But I can see people reveling in death and destruction.
Yeah, and see, I almost wonder, because when you first showed this to me, I at first thought initially, okay, this is a Christian gamer who wants to provide an alternative to Dungeons and Dragons, which is obviously satanic. Again,
my version of D&D is okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
There are those. I will be honest. There are some D20 supplements we could pull out. There's a guy like, no, I'll make a game that my dad will want to play. I'll call it the Sons of Judah. And yes, there is a game called that.
Yeah, but so at first I thought it was that, and the more I look at it, the more I get the impression like there's been some. Like, okay, I don't know if either of you have ever read The Golden Compass or his Dark Materials trilogy. Okay.
I saw the movie. It was terrible.
The book was really good until the end of the first book, and then I thought it was just absolute crap, and I didn't even finish the third one. And I probably owe it another one because I read it when I was a little bit in a different place spiritually or with terms of my religion. And the guy is very much a professed atheist, and he makes some really, really... to a religious person like me at that point in my life, very offensive statements on his website. And I was like, because he kind of stated his position as though, at that time, kind of whereas C.S. Lewis, he believed C.S. Lewis did a huge disservice to people by writing this Christian allegory in Narnia. And so he was going to do his version as an atheist. And I was like, that's a shitty reason. I'm sorry. That's a crappy reason to write a book.
Yeah.
It's just to be like, I don't like that you put your ideology in a thing, so I'm going to create this world so I can just specifically crap on yours.
Yeah.
Because there were some really, and it was like, this is probably an inappropriate joke, but it's like, who hurt you? You know what?
There is some validity in that question.
What happened? And looking at this, all that to say, I feel like William Spencer Hale. I want to go, who hurt you? What? Where? I don't know if this is his opinions or if this is like, I'm going to make this game, and I'm going to make all these Christian, because really it's the Protestant groups that are the really crazy ones that I'm seeing, the really militant ones.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, you either grew up like I did, only with the the bunker guys, the D-Day Doomsday bunker keepers, but it just, because there's some really dark stuff in there,
yeah.
And I would never the paragraph I read about the origins of the Antichrist. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's murdered children dark. And it's like, where, there, who, when? But it is a thing, because you talk about glossing over the horrific side of things because the rapture, I mean, that's what they call it, the rapture, because it's supposed to be this moment where we are, taken up and we're with our Lord, and it's great and it's wonderful.
And the non-believers will suffer.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, but they focus on that only as a scare tactic. This is going to happen to you if you don't believe. And it's like, well, that's not true faith. That's you're scared poopless. And you don't know, and you can't.
Conversion by the sword.
It is. I mean, I understand, because I'll tell you, some of the early messages I heard as a kid, it scared me enough. I was like, oh, I need to think about this a little bit more. But, and I have my own reasons for believing what I believe that have changed and shifted through the years. But it's just, it's kind of, and I think he just used the word because what else are you going to say?
Yeah.
What other word is going to convey the setting the way it is? Because I don't even know if the rapture happens in this. I think the world
does, but it's only children.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because they're the only innocent ones?
Yes.
Well, that puts the Catholic original sin scheme to shame.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, they don't.
But my take on it, as far as the game goes, would I ever want to play this? Probably not. It's a little too dark for me at this point in my life. I don't find it to be extremely well written. This is quintessential, not Mercy. This is quintessential 90s edgelord. This is, I'm going to write something as dark as I can, but I'm going to wrap it in a nice little wrapper that some people will be able to say, no, actually, it's okay.
It's
I'm playing this game. Yeah, sure, the material is dark, but it's religious and it's about these things. And I think the reason that he did what he did with the Protestants in that book is because he himself was one, and he could get away with making his own group crazy.
Is it darker than Vampire the Masquerade?
Oh, heck yeah.
Because at the beginning it was kind of, this is but it wasn't until the expansions like Simsy and the all those others that it started getting really, really, really dark.
No, this is definitely in line with the Book of Nod for White Wolf. This is This is dark. This is demons.
I was going to say there is a lot in here about hell and the different houses of hell. And the things that live in it, and it gets pretty dark, but even just the stuff that happens on Earth, I mean, hell is supposed to be dark, and so I can imagine, and not to overuse the term edgelord, but, I remember having or knowing people in high school that were like, 666, ups, pentagrams and all that stuff. They just thought, that makes, goth. Pushing, not all of them were goth, but the stereotype of goth, and it was all to shun the ones I knew were trying to kind of cast off this conservative religious upbringing that they had, and it's like, so and they're not that way anymore. It literally was a phase. I know some people are goth, and they are goth, and that is they like the aesthetic and everything. But the people that I knew did it because they didn't want to be associated with their well-to-do parents. They were too cool for that. Yeah. But no, some of the stuff that happens on Earth is really, really, really bad. Yeah. Just flipping through here, and the groups and the different sects are very. I think it feels darker because of this current socio-political climate that we're in.
Yeah.
And the way that people are behaving right now, because it's like, oh my gosh, they could be a Lutherite.
But it's one of those things where it's fascinating in the way that an Apache helicopter is fascinating. You know, it's like when you look at it and you're like, wow, its bullets can penetrate steel and destroy all these things, but the realization is that's killing somebody. Yeah, sure, it's a great piece of machine until you realize that reality that somebody just got killed. Yeah. You know, this is one of those things where, it's great to talk about this and have this, and to enter into this mindset of darkness, but in the end you have to realize this is horrible stuff to be talking about.
Well, and that's...
And,
Yeah. It doesn't seem fun to me. Even, I know people who would have probably really got off on this kind of thing. They would have really enjoyed it, and it may not have bothered me as much then as it bothers me now.
Yeah.
Because the kind of people that would really, really get into this, because people like us, they don't want to play this game.
Yeah.
People that we want to game with don't want to play this game.
Yeah. Because
the content is it can be, you never know who you're going to game with, and you don't want to, this is,
it's like playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
You never know who your friends are until you play enemies.
And my Aunt Bobby used to say, there are 3 things we don't talk about at the dinner table, and it's religion, politics, and sex. This is one. No, let's not.
This is all of it in one thing.
Let's not bring this into our gaming group because.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is.
Because it becomes a thing, because the people who like thinking about this kind of stuff from a religious perspective, not necessarily the game, the people who like to really sit and talk about this, they sit around with their friends that also agree with them, and they can just sit here in echo chamber, and it makes it worse.
Yeah.
And I don't want.
And there's also another portion of this, and that is a little bit. So they're sitting around, but not only that, but the characters they're playing, they're able to be heroes. They're able to be themselves, these heroes in the end times.
They can be these
masochistic.
Is
that what it's called, Mary Sue?
Yeah.
When you interject
or
yourself?
Gary Sue.
Oh, okay. Gary Sue.
But yes, Mary Sue. So it's where it's self-insertion into a story.
So I mean,
but it's just reading like these Lutherites, which I was wondering where they got their name. I mean, I understand Martin Luther, and I get that. But I was like, why is this establishing the kingdom of God by gun and prayer? Because I can't think of one militaristic thing that Luther did.
Not at all.
But apparently it's some kind of it's similar to the Omega Code kind of thing, where it's like, oh, he believed, he found in the writings of Luther the path to the end times or some junk. And so they're waging a holy war and all this stuff. And it was like, Luther didn't really wage a holy war. I mean, he said, this is why I'm not a Catholic anymore.
I see these problems.
Here, I got 95 problems, and a Catholic ain't all of them.
Are the Quakerites in there?
No, the Quakerites are not in here, but the Calvinites. It's funny because...
that's bizarre. Shakerites?
No. We're not actually going to... We're just going to have John Calvin and Martin Luther. And
because they actually did stuff.
Well, the United Front... all Protestant denominations and people of goodwill, men and women, ordained preachers and laymen, to reestablish peace in the world. Now, there's a nice Protestant
group
there. They're just like, you know what? Let's just chill out for a second, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, the evangelical fundamentalists, they're the last one in the Protestant group.
But so, yeah, we have definitely...
We could go all day on going through this.
But so
it's very interesting. The Legionnaires of Christ.
But I wanted to dig out a book that, let's be honest, I mean, we could have some fun with. Because none of us take this one serious. And I don't think the gaming community takes this one serious.
This is the first time I've heard of it.
Really?
So,
No.
Yeah, we sprung this on Sam in our living room earlier.
Yeah.
John was just like, I think we're going to do Rapture.
Yeah.
And when you said Rapture, at first I thought BioShock.
I wish.
Yeah,
God, that'd be such a great RPG.
See, that would be a good RPG. And I feel like somebody recently has done like a one-shot, like on one of the channels, has done a BioShock.
I think that's
shot.
right. But also, there's now people talking about using the Apocalypse World engine and doing a Fallout-based game. So that would be nice.
Mm.
You know, video game RPGs. Bring it, people. Bring it. We need more Dragon Age kind of stuff.
Agents of the Holy Office.
But, this has been our show, and...
Yeah, sorry if we offended you at all, and if not, and you thought, and you agreed with anything that we said, maybe we will do another podcast someday, not under the Tome Traveler.
Yeah.
Well, to those that feel offended, I would say that's a good sign, because that means you need to rethink. You need to think very carefully about that. There have been plenty of times where I've been wrong. And I'm like, oh, no, that can't be right. I doubt it highly. And I was very offended. And later on, I realized I wasn't offended so much as it challenged what I was thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
And see, that stuff is good, because that's how a lot of my views and positions on things have changed over the years. And, I mean, there's that saying, if the person you meet at 50 is the same person you knew at 20, then that person has wasted 30 years of life. If like everything they believe at 20,
that makes sense.
They still believe at 50, something is not. Yeah. They have never been challenged. They have never thought outside of their box. They have never tried to live in someone else's shoes. They've never done anything to shift their perspective. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people that would say, well, my closed-minded views are closed-minded because if I open it up, I let in a bunch of garbage. But no, it's called growing as a human and not.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's a great note to end on. Yeah.
Stagnating, yeah.
So if you feel challenged, cool. And at the same time, if you want to reach out to us and talk to us about any of this, we're findable on the internet. You can track us down.
You can find us anywhere.
Yeah, you can come join in on PassionNerdly.com or come find us on PassionNerdly at
probably
Facebook.
Facebook is our Facebook.com/PassionNerdly.
If you send me hate mail, just tell them and they'll send it to me.
Yeah.
And I'll be more than happy to give you a response. It wouldn't be the first time.
And if you want to play it, come find us, and we have it.
Yeah,
because we apparently have the only one.
Yeah.
You can't find this glorious book again. I think Amanda and I are just going to sit and
maybe over coffee. Yeah, enjoy.
I mean, I could just go to town.
He keeps putting his hand on the button.
No, but so hey, so how about next time we'll leave the biblical behind and go to what you think would be biblical, and next show we will do Alpha Omega. How's that sound?
Alpha, is it Alpha Omega or Alpha and Omega?
I think it's Alpha Omega.
I think it is too. So it's not. They misquoted Jesus. How dare they?
Yeah. So we'll have some fun with that one, because that's a show.
That one is bizarre. We've talked about it before, but we lost the episode. So
yeah. So come back and join us for that one, because that is a game worth talking about.
It might have been the hand of God coming down and saying,
"There you go."
No.
They're going to reveal the truth, Jesus. We need to fix that.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, good night, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you.